Mute.
Uh-oh.
The mute fairy.
Thanks, Derek. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hey, What's New with D&D, where we bring you demos of latest and coolest features from AWS to help you get started. I'm Donny, Senior Developer Advocate covering for Southeast Asia, working for AWS, and
And I am Derek Bingham. I am also a senior developer advocate, but I look after Australia and New Zealand.
amazing. All right. And a quick intro for those who are new to this series. Hey, What's New is a bi-weekly show where Derek and we bring our picks from the AWS blog and show you how to build something from what AWS has just released with code and demos. And today is the eighth episode of Hey, What's New? Eight.
There?
Yes. And on the
Lots.
last episode, we talked about Amazon ECS Anywhere, where we deployed containerized application in on-prem machines and local Mac Mini as well, and integrate them with Amazon ECS. So if you
Yeah.
missed the previous episode, don't worry, I will show you the link where you can access them.
Excellent. And please check it out because Donny's machine almost took off during that episode, if I remember correctly.
Thank you for reminding that, Derek. Okay, so for today's session, so this is really interesting because yesterday when I discussed this with Derek, he described what he's going to show, like this launch, is as a mind-blowing emoji. So
Mind blown. Yeah.
mind-blowing emoji, right? So, Mas Derek, what demos did you brew for today?
Thanks, Tony. So today we're going to talk about SAM. So SAM is a service application model. So you haven't seen it before. We're going to look at a bit into SAM. I haven't used it for a while, so hence when I looked at it for preparing this show, I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool." So today we're going to really look at SAM Pipelines, which is a new feature. Well, it's went GA actually. It's been around since July in beta, but since the 4th of November, it went GA. So that's what we're going to look at today.
Cool. So, can you tell us a bit about what is SAM, Derek?
Yeah, so SAM is serverless application model. So it is a tool set we can build serverless applications for, and that makes sense because that's the name of it. So what it does, it generates templates that are an extension of CloudFormation. So if you think CloudFormation is just too broad and you just want to build serverless applications, then you go to SAM, and it's a great little tool chain for doing that. So the demo I'm going to show you today is a little serverless application that I've built before. Well, I built it for the show, and I'm going to take that application and I'm going to build a CI/CD pipeline with it using the new SAM pipelines.
That's really cool. So for today's session, we're going to dive deep into CI/CD for serverless application.
Yep, we are. Where can we find SAM? Donny will post a link.
I already have the link. Here we go.
Because Donny is very, very organized, unlike me. So he's just posted the link. So you can download SAM, it's a tool set, you can install it. Today I'm going to actually be using Cloud9 as my IDE. I usually use VS Code, but today I thought I'd do something a bit different, a bit risque. So I'm using Cloud9. So if we just get into it, Donny, it's because we're talking too much, I think.
Let's get into it.
We like talking.
Show us the demo.
So let's just give you a little bit of background. Let's share my screen. Share screen. Let's go for screen 2, I hope. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there we go. So awesome. Hopefully you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Excellent. So this is Cloud9 IDE. We're going to start actually with the we always start with the what's new. So the what's new episode is built on these blogs. So here's the one that we're going to talk about today. It is using SAM to build CI/CD for your service applications. Posted 4th of November. So
Derek, the display doesn't render properly.
Oh, look at that! Wow. Let's see if we can do that. See if it refreshes. Oh, there we go. Can we see it now? Let's try again. Refresh. Oh, yeah. This is my display. Okay. Let's see if I can. Just refresh it back to the demo. It's not refreshing. Oh my goodness. Let me just think on the fly. And so if I disconnect my monitor, I think that's the problem.
I think so, yeah. Oh, now it's fine. So, folks, this is one of the fun things when you go to live stream. I can see the Cloud9 terminal now, Derek. Demo gremlins. Yes, that's a nice way to put it. Thank you, Johnny man.
Okay, so I'm back now. Oh. So that works. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I think your display is frozen.
Okay, so you can't see. That's fine. Let's go. You can see my screen, which is good. So let's try and bring up the demo window. And it's not. But we'll see what we'll keep it here and see if it refreshes over time and see what happens. So no, that's not working at all. Oh, what are we going to do? Yes, this is a problem. How can we fix this without restarting my machine? Wow. How about we disappear for 5 minutes and come back after I've rebooted my machine, because that's the only thing we can do.
That's the only thing that you can do. Yes, be my guest. We will wait for you here.
Ask Donny questions.
Okay, ask me questions
about it. Ask him anything.
I'm bad at telling jokes. So how about let me give you let me try to find something if I have anything on SAM. Oh, this is fun. Okay. What is the weather like where you are now? Okay, thank you, AZ. So the weather now in Singapore is quite sunny. It's been raining for a couple of days, but today is sunny. I really like the weather. There's another question. is the deployment created through AWS CDK? That's a really good one. Okay, Sam, when you do the when you're building with SAM, it's actually going to create a cloud formation. But the difference about between building your own cloud formation and using SAM is that the SAM abstracted away all those definitions that you usually define on a cloud formation for building serverless application. So it's really convenient to build with SAM, in my opinion, because everything already been abstracted away. So if you are familiar with CDK, CDK has this terminologies called construct. Um, and with construct, you don't need to do everything from scratch, right? So similar to SAM. Talk about accelerate. I think the feature is pretty cool. Yes, it is. Actually, when I discussed this with Derek a couple of days ago, we wanted to feature accelerate, but we decided to go for pipelines because I think it's not going to fit within 20 to 30 minutes of the session. But yeah, I hear you, RC AWS. We're going to talk about accelerate in upcoming episodes. What was covered in previous sessions? That's a good one. Okay, so the last episode. So for the hey what's new, we doing alternate ways. So this week's is Derek's going to present about SAM pipelines, and last week, 2 weeks ago, I presented something about ECS Anywhere, and it was really cool. ECS Anywhere is one of the features that I found is going to change the way on how that we think deploying our applications. Um, in the previous episode, I deployed an applications in an on-prem machines and also on my Mac Mini. So with ECS Anywhere, it unlocks the possibilities that you can actually deploy your applications. And the suitable use case for ECS Anywhere is that you can finally integrate your IoT application or any applications running on the edge with ECS Anywhere. And with the features coming from the ECS, which you can define the task placement, now you can combine that and you can only deploy a specific applications into your external machine. So that's really cool. Is it true that serverless technology can handle big Java enterprise application? Please throw some light. Okay, so that really depends. When it comes to serverless at AWS, you can use AWS Lambda and also AWS Fargate to run containers application. And I believe the question is really tied into what kind of architecture and how big the application that you're talking about. But I've been discussing this with a couple of customers in the past, and they actually getting benefits for implementing their applications with serverless architecture. So that really depends. So let's say like this. If you're building an applications like a model applications built with microservices and you are fully utilizing the events running in your system, then serverless is with AWS Lambda is your best bet, because it can automatically respond to any kind of events, right? And if you need to have a long running applications, you can use AWS Fargate. You can deploy your application with ECS with AWS Fargate using Amazon ECS or using Kubernetes with Amazon EKS. I support CI/CD on-prem. I would like to know about CI/CD on AWS. Okay, and Sam. So the same part, I'm going to leave it to Derek, but I'm going to talk about CI/CD on AWS. So AWS has these really cool tools and services to help you implementing DevOps. Right? So essentially, AWS has this service called code pipeline, code build, and also code deploy. Now, with code pipeline, no worries, Ashish. Thank you for asking the question. With code pipeline, that you can define your release pipeline. So let's say that you want to have couple of stages, like you have source to getting all the source. You need to build and compile the build artifacts, and also that you want to deploy in various environments. Right? So that's how code pipeline can help you. So let me open pipeline while waiting for Derek. Let's see here. Mhm. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so what you see on the screen is a pipeline that I defined using AWS Copilot. AWS Copilot is really awesome tools, but that's for now. So so in this pipeline, I want to get all the source code. I think it's mine is hosted on GitHub, and then I want to build the application. I'm using Docker for this, and then it's supposed to build and also push the build image into Amazon ECR, and and then I want to have this the build artifact that I can deploy to various environments. In this case, I have two environments. I have test and also I have prod, which actually for production. Now, so with code pipeline, I can easily orchestrate on how I want to define the release pipeline, and then I can add some extra steps. Like for example, whenever the application is successfully deployed on test environment, I want to have an integration testing, and in this case, I'm using code build as well, and only if the test command succeed, is going to deploy to production. So this is one example of continuous delivery, which requires continuous deployment, which automatically deploy if everything works well. But if you want to add manual approval, if you want to implement continuous delivery, you can do that as well with code pipeline. So this is something that I really love. It's so simple to define and easy to configure. Yes, definitely. RC AWS. It's really easy to do blue green, and also that if you're following the modern application development, you're probably real familiar with 12-factor apps, right? And what I like about code pipeline that I can easily implement all of these guidelines like build, release, and run to strictly separate build and run stages, and also to maintain the parity between environments. So we need to make it similar as possible, and that's one of the features of having an AWS code pipeline to do CI/CD. It's really flexible and configurable. And in addition of AWS Copilot, AWS Copilot is actually this one. AWS Copilot is actually a tool that you can use to get your applications shipped to AWS Cloud. You can. It has the integration with AWS App Runner, Amazon ECS, and also AWS Fargate. And Copilot also has this feature called pipeline. So you just need to execute Copilot pipeline, and it's going to help you to define the release pipeline. And what I like about Copilot is that it's already embedded best practices into the command. Like for example, here I have this application source stage to get the source code coming from GitHub, and then it's going to build, and only that. And the from the 12-factor apps, the only thing that makes the difference between application running on test, production, UAT, or any kind of environments is only the configuration. Right. So this is something that automatically created by Copilot and is one of the best practices on defining CI/CD. Oh, okay. So a question coming from Johnny Man. So code pipeline is a combination of other tools like code build and code deploy. Okay, so with code pipeline, you can integrate the pipeline with code build. And that's the easiest way for you to implement CI/CD on AWS. So in this example, what you see, the flow, the source, build and deploy to test and deploy to production. It is everything is defined by code pipeline. And for each state, you can easily integrate with other services. In this case, is AWS Code Build, and you can also use AWS Code Deploy. But in this case, I'm using on the AWS Code Build. Hello, Jones. How are you doing? Okay, so yes, thank you. More questions, please. We are still waiting for Derek. Okay, so while waiting, I think it's because I mentioned about Copilot, right? I think let's dive deeper into this. So with Copilot, that you can easily, I mentioned that you can easily ship your applications into AWS Cloud, and if you want to get started with with AWS Copilot, the easiest way, just go to the AWS GitHub.io Copilot CLI. They have a really nice documentation for you to get started, and I would say that this tool is really intuitive in a way that it's going to guide you to fill out all the details, and it will abstract away all those complexities to shipping your applications into your environment. Like, for example, whenever you deploy an application with AWS Copilot, let me try show you something. Copilot. Whenever you deploy something with AWS Copilot, it will automatically create an environment for you. So, for example, I have this two environment, test and prod, and it's going to create one VPC if you choose to do the default configuration. It's going to create one VPC with two public subnet and private subnets. Okay, so I think that ends my quick demo
Oh my goodness.
on Copilot and Code Pipeline. And hello, Derek. Glad
Hi,
to
hi,
have you
Donny.
join us again.
Oh my goodness, have I just been through hell and back? But I'm back, and let's continue with the SAM demo. I'm going to show my screen again, and this time it's going to work, isn't it, Donny? It's going to work this time. So sharing my screen. Yes, of course it works. Of course it works. Hooray! So this is my little SAM app that I've built. So if you haven't seen a SAM app before, yes, you can. When you create it, it is a little Hello World app, and it's got it's just building a DynamoDB table and a little HTML table. So if I go SAM, so SAM obviously instigates all the commands. If I go SAM build, it will generate the SAM template file, which if you remember, is an extension of CloudFormation. And then I go SAM deploy. This is how I would develop a SAM application locally. So, go through that development cycle of testing, iterating, and doing all of that good stuff. So now it's deployed, so there's no changes. So I'll have to make a change to actually force it to deploy, because that's the sort of day I'm having. So if I go into and just make a colon here and just see it, probably colon is probably not a good idea, but we'll see. Now if I rebuild that, so again, if you're making a change, do SAM build, regenerate, SAM deploy to redeploy, and hopefully we get a change hit there. I'm just checking that we're in the right directory and everything, because demos and yes, Tony.
I'm sorry to break you the news.
Yeah,
but the display is a bit weird on my end.
Oh, it is again. It's gone again. Oh,
but we can see partial information that Sam is actually doing something.
Yep, and I can preview with inside Cloud9. And
Cool.
oh wow! So you can see that there. I've got if I go there. Oh, there we go.
Oh, I can see the text.
Well, there you go. There's the fix. It's a control scroll to fix the thing. So there's my message. So hey, what's new, viewers? Donny just ate 3 peanut M&Ms because everybody knows that peanut M&Ms are Donny's favorite
Yes,
snack.
I love M&Ms. So
And
how
so
did you know? How did you know that? Is it something magic coming from the SAM pipelines?
I could just tell.
Okay.
SAM Pipelines worked out that you loves peanut M&Ms, Donny.
Cool.
And so every time I refresh it, a count goes up, and that's persisted in DynamoDB. So that's how typically you build that application. And historically, if you then wanted to build and deployment pipeline, you'd have to think about a number of things. You'd have to think about building all of that infrastructure, either using CloudFormation directly. You'd have to think about, what orchestration engine am I going to use? Am I going to use Bitbucket? Am I going to use GitHub Actions? Am I going to use Code Pipeline to pull it all together? And then you'd have to set up IAM roles and permissions between all of these services to get SAM, your SAM project inside the CI/CD pipeline.
All of those stuff, right?
A lot of complicated stuff, and it's a real pain.
And also, not to mention that we also need to learn the best practices on how to use all of those.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So a lot to learn and a lot to take in, Donny. So this is why this feature of SAM Pipelines takes all of that heavy lifting away. So it's really easy to get started with it. And so what you do is inside your project, so inside your existing project, you can do this SAM pipeline init bootstrap.
Okay.
So what SAM init bootstrap does, and I'm just going to keep refreshing this because I can see that what it does. Always refresh your video drivers. So so you can do a quick start. So I'm doing option 1 to do quick start. And then here's all the different options that you can use. So currently it supports I'll write. So Jenkins is supported.
Jenkins is supported.
Jenkins is supported, Donny. Nice. GitLab, CI/CD, GitHub Actions, Bitbucket Pipelines, and AWS Code Pipeline. So Bitbucket Pipelines is super new. Just came out in terms of support for SAM pipelines. For my demo, I'm going to use GitHub Actions.
Nice.
Because what I failed to mention was my code is obviously in GitHub. So what I've done, I have created a GitHub repo for my SAM project. And if we just open that, it was my GitHub repo. So that's what I've checked out into my Cloud9 environment. So now it prompts you, as you've used a template. Let's get this to refresh. It's not refreshing. So as you you pick a template, it defines stages for you. So then it's a case of going through basically a command prompt asking you, do you want to set up these stages? And you go through the settings, and it sets up a stage, and it asks you for a stage name. And the stage name for each stage, I'm going to give stage 1 dev. So it's going to be called dev. And it's going to go, I give it a profile that I want to use. I give it a region. I ask SAM to create my IAM user for me. I give it a role. So SAM will create an execution role for me as well. And it will also build an execution role for the CloudFormation. And it will do all of these things. Lambda. So you're not seeing any of these because my screen is not refreshing, which is really annoying. So
I know. I know how you
so
feel.
annoying. So what?
Okay. So how about this, Derek? I
Go.
do have a couple of questions. So meanwhile, waiting for the screens goes normal back again. So
Yep.
I do have a
Yes.
questions. Okay.
Yep.
So this is really cool. So that means that we can use GitHub, Code Commit, Bitbucket, and also GitLab, and also integrate with the CI/CD engines,
Yep.
right? And
That's right.
I see. And then so so it actually have this flexibility to choose whichever source code and doesn't tie you into one specific service, right? And and I with SAM pipelines, it's I know that with AWS provides us with a lot of flexibilities on building CI/CD, on building the release pipeline. Right? We can use CDK or the L3 construct CDK pipeline. We can also use the Amplify console to build release pipeline, and we can also manually configure them on code pipeline integration with code build and also code deploy. So my question is, what are the advantages for us to use SAM pipelines?
Yeah, sure, Donny, and a very good question. So SAM pipelines is primarily there for applications that you're using SAM to build. So what you if you have an existing SAM project and you need that CI/CD, well, you do need that CI/CD experience because
Mhm.
that's best practice. Then you should seriously look at SAM pipelines because you're building in that best practice into your pipelines rather than relying on trying to build that with, say, raw CloudFormation or CDK. Now, and if you're building an Amplify web app, then obviously it makes sense to use Amplify as that
Mhm.
build a deployment pipeline. And CDK is really because I I use CDK more often than anything, and even more than CloudFormation. And so CDK used for everything else. So if you want to join a few different stacks together, you want to think about encapsulating different parts of your application,
Mhm.
infrastructure as code, then I use CDK for that. So
Mhm.
SAM pipelines is very much it's aimed at an existing SAM application, or if you want to build a greenfields SAM application, how to get that
Lovely. Okay.
orchestration done.
If you don't mind, I do have other questions.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I understand on how to use SAM pipelines is that if we use external code repository like GitHub or GitLab, we need to have some kind of mechanisms to integrate them with our AWS resources. And how does SAM pipelines do that?
Yep. So SAM pipelines actually it builds all of the roles and the execution roles that you need to integrate with the other services that you use. So what there is a great link. If you got one of the links that
Mhm.
shows you exactly what SAM pipelines builds in the background for you. So it builds. Um, Execution role, IAM
Oh, yeah,
user,
I
all of
have
that
it
for
here.
you.
Here
And
you go.
so you can, excellent, your screen works. So what you can do, if you scroll down a little bit,
Yes.
if you've got, no, there's the blog entry that, the initial blog entry has a nice little diagram in it.
Okay.
And so, yep,
Let me try to find it.
if you so what you should really do is deploy your dev stage in an account and your prod stage in a different account because
Mhm.
that really you want to decrease your blast radius. So that's best practice. SAM pipelines also supports that
I
if you want to do
see.
that. So that's what it builds there, right there. That up a bit, scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. There you go.
I
So
see.
that's what SAM pipelines builds for you. And so all you have to do is once you've defined these stages in SAM pipelines, you then have a secret access code and access key, and you plunk those into your GitHub. So GitHub Actions is what I was going to
I
use.
see. Mhm.
So in GitHub Actions, and then that allows you to wire GitHub Actions up to your SAM
Mhm.
deployments. So when you push code change, which I was going to show, up into your GitHub repo, then that will trigger a GitHub action, which will then trigger the pipeline and deploy it into your AWS account, which is really cool way of doing things.
I see. And I saw there's a features that we can also use SAM pipelines to deploy a Lambda deployment package as a container image. That's really cool.
That is very cool. So SAM Pipelines can do that. As part of the setup, it'll ask you, which you didn't see, again, it'll ask you, do you have any images? And then it'll ask you for the ECR ARN. So it can reach in and pull those images down and deploy them into via the pipeline. So another cool feature of SAM Pipelines.
Cool. Okay. Okay. So, do you have any tips or tricks on how to use SAM pipeline? Do you have any piece of advice for us, Derek?
Yeah, refresh your video drivers and don't use your work laptop to stream. So yeah, the advice I've got is I always advise to lift the hood and the bonnet of these features and have a play with them. So you can spend a couple of hours. Have a look at SAM pipelines, see if it fixes your needs. So if you've got an existing SAM project and you really want to build out a continuous integration pipeline for it, have a look at SAM pipelines. Likewise, if you're going greenfields and you're thinking about building a serverless application, SAM's a great way to do that. And then SAM pipelines is just like the icing on the cake to do it. So always have a quick play because it's good fun building these things out, and it takes no time at all to do.
Okay, cool. We also have a request in the chat to feature SAM Accelerate. Is that something that you're planning to deliver in upcoming episodes?
Well, that's funny, Donny. You should mention that because we'd planned to include Accelerate in the chat in the show, but decided because the show would be long enough with pipelines to drop it. So we've scheduled Accelerate because I was using it yesterday and I was like, wow, that's cool. Into a future episode once I get my laptop fixed, and I'll show you. I will show you. I promise I will show you pipelines and Accelerate working together as my next demo.
That's a promise. Yep. I'm going to ask you in
Hold
upcoming episodes, Derek. Okay.
Yep, hold me to that.
Okay, cool. That's all, folks, for this episode. And for you who are watching live or VOD, you can share your feedbacks and comments in the comment box below. And if you want to us to cover specific features or specific launches, let us know as well. You can reach out to either of us on our Twitter handles. You can see there's a Twitter handles on the screen, or you can also send email to us using this address. There you go. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend and happy coding.
Goodbye, folks. See ya.